23 degrees. So this is awesome. We do not have snow. Yesterday afternoon I did a recording, a video, and it looked like flurries, and the flurries were actually collecting on the road. But today I don't see any flurries and the sky is blue. It's really pretty this morning. I'm starting out a little bit later than normal. Had a hard time getting up this morning, actually. Good morning, Kelly. So some of my friends in the mid-low southern states, mid-southern, we're getting snow more than us in New Hampshire. I don't want to laugh about it because the winter is not over, so our turn could be coming. But we do not have snow, but we do have very cold temperatures. It's very seasonally unusual for this type of situation. So we have school today, and I'm headed to school. I work about 40 minutes away from where I live, and this is the road I travel every day, and it's usually, pretty good. I had a traffic jam the other day because there was a really bad accident, but usually we drive right through. But this road has been new since my lifetime. There's a lot of smaller roads that go through from town to town, and if this highway wasn't here, it would take me a lot longer than 40 minutes. This was put in during probably while I was in college or so, and then it was widened within the last few years. So this road will go from southern New Hampshire all the way up through to where the capital is in Concord, and then it goes up into the mountains as well. So it's a very well-traveled road, very popular New Hampshire road. So I have like 2 lanes on this side. I think there's 2 lanes on that side. And at some points it opens up even more than that. So Kelly has a 2-hour delay. Nice. Okay. Get back to work, Kelly. Man. So Kelly's a fellow YouTuber, teacher friend, and she's a great friend that I've met through YouTube because she makes YouTube videos. We've also done some collaborations on my channel as well as her channel. I was just looking at my collaborations playlist, and we had one for Evelyn and Kelly and myself. I think it might have been Rebecca. We did a collaboration about YouTube, and Evelyn, my friend Evelyn Joy, her channel, I was friends with her when she had like 200 subscribers, and she's up to 8,000. I was watching a guy this morning who is 80 years old, and he just started a YouTube channel, and he was talking about how to make a viral video. It was very interesting. He said he studied for 3 months how to do everything, and then when he put together a video, it just went crazy like right away. So kudos to him. I appreciate that. But I think there's a lot of people, it's kind of like anything else, when you start, I sold Pampered Chef. Some people, they start selling something and they just go crazy with it. They just are like a natural. They just jump in and they can do it right away. But there's a lot of people who start and, they have to keep going. And I mentioned yesterday 6 ways to reach your goals. And 1 was to make a goal. Number 2 was to write it down. Number 3 was to figure out what your formula is. How are you going to reach that goal? Number 4 was keep going, like keep at it and just keep doing it over and over and over. Keep those repetitions going. And then you are going to not quit. Don't quit. So I think as YouTubers, sometimes some people, they figure it out right away. They make a video that goes crazy right away, and then some people just takes longer, maybe to either figure it out or to finally make a video that everybody wants to watch or whatever it might be, But most of his videos were about being a YouTuber. And I was talking to one of the YouTubers, like Brian BG. He's one of the most famous YouTubers I like watching. Brian G, I think he calls himself. And he has a lot of good videos. And I said, I think most of the videos that go crazy are about how to go big on YouTube. That's what it seems like to me. So I have made a few videos about it, but one of the things would be, you know, not everybody goes viral right away. And you might have to figure out your formula and just keep doing the reps and then don't quit. And I look at some of the like podcasters, they don't really plan ahead on their video as far as, you know, their script, but they do plan what they're going to talk about. They do present research. They don't always just come and like just chatter about whatever comes off the top of their head. But how do radio programs do it? You know, they don't always, not everybody's the same. Like one person might go viral on this one, another person goes viral on something different, and you have to do what works for you and just see how it goes. Yeah, so I'm going to I'm going to school and the sun is really pretty today. And I realized I forgot to put my earbuds in. So I think I have them in. Oh, I think I turned off my Bluetooth, so I can't even really use them right now. So sorry about that. I know it's a little not as good a sound quality without my earbuds or something. So anyway, today I wanted to talk a little bit about kids and cell phones in schools. So I realized doing some reading, and that the Senate in New Hampshire wants to talk about banning cell phones for children in classrooms. What do you guys think about that? Should we ban cell phones in classrooms? I would love to hear your opinions on this. I think it's going to be pretty close to half and half. You know, some people think no cell phones in classrooms, and then some people think, well, my 22-year-old said I wouldn't send my kid to public school without a cell phone for safety reasons, you know. She doesn't have kids. She doesn't know how distracting they are for children. But, yeah, so we might be talking about all ages, too. At what age would they be able to have a cell phone? Now, personally, my oldest she already had a job and she had her own car when she got a cell phone. So she was pretty responsible, but even then, you know, it's a distraction, obviously. But in the classroom, when I went to school, at a private school, we went into the school building and they put the cell phones in the basket in the office. And then if they needed something, they could go to the office and use their phone if needed. And they just put it back into the basket. At the school I'm at now, each teacher has a basket and the kids put the phones in the basket. If they need to call their parents or check for a message, they can go ask the teacher if they can. And it's working pretty well. Having a phone right out in class, I agree, is quite a distraction, but I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it being a law. Like, I feel like the schools and the administrations would take care of whatever rules we would need for the cell phones. But I know also once it's a kid's cell phone, it's their cell phone. So how do we tell them they can't have it? Or maybe they just can't bring it to school at all. But then there's that aspect of safety, you know, if the only phone, I know that each teacher probably has a phone on their person, most likely. The kids all have Chromebooks in New Hampshire, and I think that's the same as most of the country. In our school, we don't work on Chromebooks all day long. We do mostly traditional schooling, and then they'll do Chromebooks for typing class, or they have a communications class where they write papers, and they can use them for different reasons academically, but we don't have our textbooks on Chromebooks. We don't do testing on Chromebooks. For the most part, we do still use paper and pencil. And I really like that. I think that's better than what's happening with the public school. But if kids have Chromebooks, they have access to distractions. They can still distract the teacher, or talk to their friends somehow. I don't know all the ins and outs, and most people will tell me, oh, we control that from a location. The kids can't do this and that, but I don't believe you, because I know kids are very smart. They figure things out. They would rather figure out how to get around the system than to actually do their schoolwork. So I think that I just would like to hear you guys weigh in, and I can't really read your comments, Kelly, but I know you are a teacher, plus you have children, so you would know what would be appropriate. I just am all about like don't keep making laws that restrict people. And I know that sometimes we make laws that we believe are helping people, but we need to educate people and let them make their own choices. I know that's hard, but that's what the American way is. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to reading your comments. I just was a little shocked that was one of the main priorities in our Senate this term. And I don't want to fight about it. I don't want to go against my own fellow Republicans, but I don't see where it's going to really help students. It's not going to help them really do better in school. Although maybe that's why our math scores are down. I don't know. I have allowed my student, I have a tutoring student, and I've allowed my tutoring student to use a calculator because it kind of speeds up the process when we're doing certain things, and it does make it easier when I'm trying to explain a concept and we're not bogged down with the actual computation. But I always make sure that they know what they're doing if they do it longhand. But some things you can't teach with a calculator, like multiples, say multiply by 10. All you're doing is moving the decimal point over. If you just write on your calculator times 10, you might not really like kids, like adults might see it, but kids might not realize, oh, it's the same number, I just moved the decimal point over. Or it's the same number, I multiplied by 1,000, I moved the decimal point over 3 times. So I like to make sure they know how to do those things before we start using a calculator. And in our books, they're usually a little bit of computation, but they limit it to make it, reasonable for the student. So the problems work out reasonably and all that stuff. So, okay, so I just kind of skimmed. Jen DeGroff said that they should make a policy, and that's what they do in our school. The school board makes a policy that we did have a discussion. The school board was going to say, put the cell phones in the lockers, and you can't get it until the end of the day. And then they decided that it was a little too harsh. Then they decided it's going to be cell phones are not allowed to be brought out in the classroom. If they are brought out in the classroom, then this and this. And they do have a policy about it, and it sounds like things are going better. The kids are complying, and if a student decides they're not going to comply and they're going to have their hand in their phone, they just send the whole person and the phone to the office. So I'm hearing that it's working out in our school. We don't have a huge school. We don't have a city school, but you know, they have kind of the same problems, just with less students. And I'm right at the corner where there's a lot of glare. So yes, I agree that I think it should be each school makes their own policy. But I guess the government is saying, hey, we give you all this money, so we need to help you get better results for the money. But the government doesn't really give us money. The money is our money. We give it to the government, and then the government gives it back to us. It's not the government's money. So, you know, I always have to keep that in mind. The government isn't giving us money. The government is giving us our money back. And they're taking our money and they're deciding how to spend it. And I've been on the school board for over 2 years, almost 3 years, and I see that a lot of people say that it's foolish spending and all these things. It depends on what item in the budget you think is foolish. Because do you think teachers' salaries is foolish? No. Do you think busing students to school is foolish? No. Do you think paying to upkeep the buildings is foolish? No. Do you think maintenance is foolish? No. So we've been through the entire budget, and I see where most of what the school spends the money on is actual things and actual items. And sometimes they do overstate the budget, and they end up with a little bit extra at the end of the year. But isn't that better than not having enough? And I feel like it's not the school board's fault that everything costs money. And it's not this one school board, and for me, in 3 years, I haven't been able to really fix anything. I mean, I can see certain things and I can talk about it, but as far as fixing a big problem, it takes a long time to fix a big problem in a school. And the price of everything is going up. So if you need a new roof on a building, this year it might be $2 million. In 10 years it might be $10 million. So how do you plan for that? I feel like the whole system of the government paying for anything is a bad system. Because, you know, the government can say, we need this much money in order to function. And they can say, we need the taxpayers to pay this much money to function. And we don't have a choice. And we should, I don't know what the answer is about education, but I feel like in New Hampshire, we're trying to go for parental choice and have more of a sense of competition between schools and let parents choose which school their kids go to, which is really tough, because then how do the schools plan for how many students they're going to have? But, and then if that's all, you know, tax collected money, that's really hard to plan. It's already hard to budget. So I feel like we've made the school, we've made way too many things that the school is responsible for. They're responsible for teaching, they're responsible for managing bad behavior, they're responsible for kids that come in handicapped and they have to accommodate for them while they're accommodating for all the other kids as well. It's almost like an impossible situation. So my thought is schools should be a lot smaller. We should have smaller schools. We should have you know, I don't know. Our school is, I think, 100, just over 100, and we have a lot of staff, and we still get kind of overwhelmed with a lot of extra stuff to manage. But I think that's going to happen with any amount of children, because children can be hard to manage sometimes. But smaller schools, and then that smaller schools would make it so you don't need as many like administrators. Like say you have 100 teachers, then you need administrators to manage all of those teachers. But if you had a smaller school with fewer students and just the teachers manage each other and manage the school itself, then you wouldn't be spending as much on the upper end of administrators. But that would be a lot more work, right? And it would be harder for the government to manage bigger or smaller schools and more of them. And the government would kind of lose control, because when you try to tell us, 50-person school what to do, and then you have to make sure all the schools of 50 children are complying, it's just a big mess. The truth is, this is supposed to be the people managing their own lives. It shouldn't be that the government is so into our lives that they have to manage us. And I don't know how that would ever get fixed at this point in time without some kind of major upset. Now, I heard that the new administration is talking about doing away with the federal part of the government with education. And I don't know how that would work either, because all the schools rely on federal funds as well. But it does make sense, because it should be more about the parents choosing for their children. And what about all of those people that have kids that don't take care of them? Well, maybe there's a way to manage that. Maybe like they would have sponsors that would manage their education or something like that. If their parents aren't going to do it, then they have to have a sponsor to help them make sure the kids get to school, make sure that they have what they need and all that stuff. I mean, there are going to be kids that need help beyond their home. And that's just how it is right now. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way society is. And that's what everybody worries about. What about the kids that don't have a family, or they don't have parents that take care of them? I mean, what do they do if the parents aren't in tune to what their kids need, or they're not shopping around for a good school or whatever? I mean, somehow the kids get put into daycares. So how do these kids get put into daycares? Somebody takes care of them, somebody makes sure they have a place to go. And I guess we would have to just adjust. It's just so easy to think that we can wake up as a parent, get their kid out. And I mean, that's how I lived. I was a young kid, and I went to school. I just, got up, had my bowl of cereal, knew what time I had to be up at the bus stop, went up to the bus stop on time and got picked up and went to school. And that's how I lived, and it wasn't really a big problem. But I also got out of the public school at age 13 because I went to a school close to the home. It was pretty comfortable. I knew my friends. It was, somewhat decent. But then when I went to junior high, which was 7th grade, I went to a very large junior high, and it was, I loved my teachers. I loved the education. Like, I really was I wanted to do well in school. But the kids that I went to school with, to me, they scared me. So I actually asked my dad if he would find me a different school to go to. At 13, I told him, I don't want to go to that school, and I don't want to go to the high school either. And so I ended up going to a small Christian school that was a private school. And I will forever be grateful to my dad for listening to me. and helping me in that way, because I was scared. I mean, when I was little, I was scared of the dark, and I was kind of a scared person, I guess, but I was like an energetic person. I wanted to do things, and I don't know why I had that much fear in me, but I went up to the Christian school and I absolutely loved it. Made some really great friends. I was able to do so many things. I learned so much, and I really appreciated the 4 years of high school that I had, and I loved high school, and I wish I could do it again. Some people can't say that. And I went to a Christian college, which again was a good Christian college, and I loved it. And yeah, so there is a way to have a good education and to live differently than everybody else. And, you know, am I successful? I mean, I'm not a millionaire, but I feel like I've had a good life, and I'm thankful for it. So that's my story, and I will be anxious to read the comments on this. Oh, so Kelly says the Federal Department of Education does nothing. If they do nothing, then why do they have to get rid of it? The DOE doesn't help with anything, okay? Yeah, so we'll see what happens, and education should be our main priority. We spend most of our money with our taxes. I know in Hampshire, we spend a lot of money in taxes on education, and the level of knowledge and ability and even motivation is at an all-time low. But yeah, I know the kids at, you know, at my school, they have parents that do encourage them, and that, you know, they do go the extra mile for their children. So it is different than going to public school, where I know that sometimes kids don't have anyone that encourages them. But I know some people rise above that, but for the most part, you know, we do have to reach the average student, not just the smart ones and not just the special needs, but all of those in between as well. So anyway, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.